Good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay out there? Everyone here all right? All right. We'll wait on Bridget up here and we'll get started. Well, good evening. I'd like to welcome all our guests to our final Animal Advisory Board meeting for 2022. Thank you for coming out this evening. I'd also like to welcome our newest board member, Miss Bridget Briley. We're extremely glad to have her on the board. This is her first board meeting this evening. Many of you probably know Miss Briley. She works very hard in the community and has for a long time in animal welfare. Runs her own rescue, Blue Collar Mutts. Has done a lot of things over the years for a long time. I don't know how far back do you go with the rescue? I know a long time. So
a long time, hard and heavy, 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Brings a lot of knowledge and experience on animal rescue. It's done everything from running vaccination clinics to fundraising. So we're extremely glad to have her. With that being said, I just want to take a moment to again, we only hold 3 of these meetings a year. So I'm just going to take a moment and kind of explain what the purpose of this board is. So we, in the state health code, we are mandated to have a board for the purpose in an advisory role. So our scope is limited. Our authority is limited within the city as far as decision making and what we do. Our role is really to advise the city leadership and the city council on the animal shelter here in our community. And we'll read you exactly according to state law what our purpose is here. And it's this is found in the Health State Code, Section 823.005, Advisory Committee. The governing body of a county or municipality in which an animal shelter is located shall appoint an advisory committee to assist in complying with the requirements of this chapter. The advisory committee must be composed of at least 1 licensed veterinarian, 1 county or municipal official, 1 person whose duties include the daily operation of an animal shelter, and 1 representative from an animal welfare organization. The advisory committee shall meet at least 3 times a year. And again, so we're an advisory role. We as a board, when we look at the health code, and our whole goal is to make sure that we're in compliance with that. And if there's things at the shelter that we need to fix to maintain that compliance or bring us up to speed, then that's what we focus on. And again, we advise city council, advise city management of that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to citizen comment. If there's any items on the agenda, and the agenda is posted there when you signed in. If there's any items on the agenda this evening you'd like to comment on, you're more than welcome to come forward at this time and comment. We just ask that we limit each speaker to 3 minutes. Are there any comments at this time? No? Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and move into our regular agenda items. For the board members, the first item on the agenda is it's the director's report. This is where we look at our statistics. These are statistics we track that we use to just determine what the current situation is as far as the homeless population of animals in this community, and also it just indicators to show us what is going on in the community with the animals and pet owners. There's 5 major statistics that we look at. The first one, we'll go ahead and go right into it. It's the intake. So you're looking at a year-to-date comparison of 2021 versus 2022. This is almost a full year's worth of data. I pulled the data 2 days ago, so we're lacking about 2 weeks. So you're looking at almost a full picture of a year's worth of data. As far as the intake is concerned, year to date, which would have been December 12th when I pulled the report, we're at a 25% decrease as far as overall intake at the shelter. That's a huge number. 2021, we had our total intake at 4,621 year to date, and then currently we're at 3,475. That's total animals. That's dogs, cats, and the occasional like livestock that comes into the shelter. But obviously, the majority of that's going to be your domestic cats and dogs. If you look at the bar graph, what sticks out, if you look at the summer months back in 2021 versus this past summer, you can see it's a huge, we had a way less volume of animals coming in from really April, May, June, July, August time frame. If you look at the difference there, especially May, June, July, what we saw in 2021 was just a huge number of really in the puppy and kitten population coming in. So we did not have near as bad summer as we did versus 2021. So you can just visually see that. Also, moving on into this fall and over the last couple of months, again, our intakes, we followed suit with what many municipal shelters are doing, and we changed policy and we went to a more of a managed intake with owner surrendered animals, which is many shelters across the state of Texas are doing that and have been doing that for a while. And we did a lot of research that went into that before we made the decision to do that. We talked to a lot of other municipal shelters who have been doing this type of policy for some time. And what it does is it allows us to really save space for a true stray animal versus an animal that's in a home. And we understand people need to surrender animal, but we have such a high volume coming in. Now that we require owned animals to be by appointment, it gives us more space for a true stray animal, and it really puts a little more onus on that pet owner to try to find an alternative to bringing it to our shelter. And common practice, you'll find many shelters that do that. So that's going to account for some of the decrease over the last couple of months. So for the board members, any questions or any comments on the intake portion? All right, no comments. We'll move on to the next statistic that we track, which is going to be animals leaving the shelter through adoption and rescue. So for the year-to-date comparison, we're slightly down. And again, our volume is down, so that's going to be slightly down as well. And the big thing to remember with this is, we send a lot out to rescue. We've got a lot of great people in the community and volunteers who work extremely hard to make that happen. And there's many people involved with that. The rescues get full just like a shelter gets full, and we're not only our shelter but shelters across we're competing with other municipal shelters as well, who are trying to they want to rehome these animals too, and they want them moved out of their shelter. So it's a lot of coordination, a lot of things go into that. And again, the rescues can only take so many from municipal shelters, so they get full as well. But the effort is really amazing. If you watch how hard a lot of our volunteers work to continue to move them out, and it's difficult and it's a lot of work. great work with that. We're actually moving more animals out through rescue than we are adopting locally, and it's we still do a lot of adoptions, but we seem to be able to move them out quicker. And in an environment like ours where there's extremely limited space, we have to get them out. We have to get them out quick. So, any questions on our adoptions and our rescue numbers? All right, we'll take a look. We'll take a look at our euthanasia comparison. This is the number that really blows me away. Year to date, we're at 943, which is a 35% decrease from last year, 2021. It's the largest percentage decrease in a year that I can recall over the almost 10 year that I've been here. If you would ask me, even 3 years ago, would I see that number below 1,000? I would have told you no way. You go back years ago, that yearly number was we were looking at 2,500, almost 3,000 animals a year were being euthanized, but we were taking in 5,000. Our numbers they've all, at that point we were taking in 5,000 a year. So it was about anywhere between 70, high 70% as far as the euthanasia rate. But so to me that's pretty amazing number. Again, we're I think more people over the years. We got a great group of folks, volunteers, and there's groups within our community that are educating the public. I know we've got folks are going into schools, they're talking to kids, they're putting on programs. Heck, our own high school has a club now, an animal advocate club, which hasn't been around very long. So I think with the education and the hard work that people are putting into, just talking about the importance of spay and neuter, I feel it's making a big impact in the community. So, any question on the euthanasia statistics?
No, I think that's a wonderful number, though. I, like you, have been watching this for quite a long time, and I didn't really expect us to go below 1,000 anytime within the near future. So, I'm very pleased to see that. Hope it can continue to go down.
Aaron, there was a question that was brought to me about sometime when y'all have ones that are marked, if we could have 24 hours to network them. Because a lot of those we could get out.
Yes. So to answer, I'm just trying to make sure I have your question framed correctly. Are you asking for notification, like certain people wanting notification?
There's been occasions that it wasn't because they were sick or injured or aggressive, or it was more of a space issue.
Right.
But if we would have had 24 hours, we could have got them out.
Yes. So what we do now, I work very closely with Diane Paulette, our rescue coordinator. If we get to a point, this is how we are operating now, and if we get to a point where we're at capacity and we have to make a decision for space, what we've been doing is we let her know, and then we do give her notice. It's the issue. We try to give her as much notice as we can, but it is extremely fluid because we don't. It shouldn't be as big an issue now, but it's because we went to a managed intake policy, whereas beforehand we were anything that was brought, we just accepted. It was a constant influx. But now that the intake has slowed down, I think there will be an opportunity to probably give that more advanced notice. So to answer your question, yes, I think now, because we've changed some of our policies, and especially with the intake process, I think that will allow more time to try to network some of these animals. So, did I answer your question? Okay.
How long have y'all been doing the managed intake?
We started that beginning of October. So October, November, we two solid, slightly over 2 months. So, but that will, again, I think that the problem in the past has always been the constant influx, and there was we take whatever's brought. But now that we've got it, we're managing that more. I think there'll be more there'll be more time. So.
I know we did on some owner surrenders that had made appointments for 2 litters of puppies. We went out and vaccinated and talked them into fostering them instead of bringing them into the shelter. So we were able to get them 2 vaccinations and actually get them transported to rescue.
Before they entered the
but they
shelter.
were on
Yeah.
the schedule to be dropped off. And
Awesome.
so we
That's good.
contacted them that we had vaccinations. So we were able to vaccinate them, talk the people into fostering them for like 15, 16 days, and we got them out to rescue.
That's awesome.
Good.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that's the kind of thing, by requiring an owner to make an appointment now, they have to, instead of just us being the simple solution, there's some more thought that they can go through to try to rehome it, because again, we're so overwhelmed with strays that, again, we like to try to save the space for that versus, and when we understand that there are reasons why owners need to surrender an animal, and but in the past it's just been very, very easy for people to drop them and just
Drive away.
So now I think there's some more. We're introducing. Making them think a little more, and they have to put a little more thought process in when they need to surrender. But and we're not talking about animals that are injured or there's a major behavior issue. Of course, we're gonna, if it's a safety thing or animal suffering, we're gonna take the animal. But as far as a healthy animal, we're requiring an appointment now. So. Any other questions from the board members on the euthanasia numbers? Last statistic we'll look at before we move to our next agenda item is our return to owner comparison. Slight decrease with our return to owner for 2021 year to date. We were at 332. This year we're at 282, so that's a 15% decrease. Again, it's relative in the sense that the numbers are way down as far as what's entering the shelter. So this number's down as well slightly. It's a difference of 60. My math's correct. 60 animals, 15%. On this note, what's exciting for us this year is we were able to secure more funding for microchips in our budget. This for our FY23 budget. This is the first year that we were able to get the dollar amount that we received to purchase microchips. So we are will at some point this year, calendar year, when we've never done this before, so it's exciting for us, and we understand the importance of microchipping. We're going to offer the public. Fortunately, we can't do it right now where it's just free microchips all the time for the public, but we're going to look at doing several clinics for 2023 where we open up a window and advertise it where members of the public can come get a free microchip from us, and we've never been able to do that before. So we're excited about that, and again, I think that it's the more we can get out to the community that how important chipping their animal is, it's just going to help us get those animals back to those members of the public. And it'll help the officers in the field. I'd like to be able to get to a point where if people really will start chipping their animal, they all have scanners in their trucks, my officers. So if we can get the public on board and educated on the importance of microchipping and keeping their information up to date, we don't even have, I'd like to get to a point where we're not even have to bring that animal into the shelter. We can scan it, get that information, and the officer can get the animal back, to that owner. So
That's how Tyler does it.
Mhm.
Are we chipping everything that goes out now?
We are, everything that's adopted, and that was part of the ordinance change. We are chipping. It's either we do it, or when they go to surgery, they take the chip, and then Dr. Seiler's office is doing it. So, but they're getting chipped.
And being registered.
Yeah, we register them. We do the registration process right there at time of adoption. So whether or not Dr. Seiler's office puts the chip in or we put the chip in, we still that's part of it. It gets registered before they leave. So, all right. Any other questions from board members on the return to owner statistics?
Just one. You mentioned, Tyler, do they have a different ordinance on that? Is it mandatory for all animals to be chipped inside the city, or do you know?
I don't know if it's an ordinance. I can find out. I just know
curious.
when I've spoken to Sean that they microchip everything, and then out in the field when they pick them up, if they scan them and they can get the address, they go to the home, and it's like first time's a freebie,
Yeah.
second time's a
Ticket.
citation, third time's a bigger citation.
Yeah. Okay.
But it keeps them from ever touching the shelter floor. So it means no feeding, no watering, no housing, you just take them home.
I do know there are some cities that do have if you live in that incorporated city limits, then it's written into their city ordinance that they're required to be chipped. And I can't name off what cities.
Brazos Valley.
Brazos
Valley.
Brazos Valley. And there's more. I know there's a lot of.
If I'm not mistaken, it was part of our original proposal, but it didn't make the cut through the council.
And that's something we can, I think you're going to see more cities, and as time goes on, I think people are starting to realize the importance of microchipping, and I think you're going to see more cities are going to codify it and make it a actual requirement. But all right, if there's no more questions on that statistic or agenda item, we'll go ahead and move to item number 2, review and discussion of Texas Department of State Health Services inspection that was conducted on October the 13th, 2022. This was our latest shelter inspection conducted by our state veterinarian, Dr. Moore, for Region 4, and 2 of his assistants. Board members, in your packet, you will find the results, the inspection itself, along with comments from the evaluators. Also, our license that was renewed through the state. On the inspection, I'll let you read through the comments. Most of the items that were annotated or commented on, a lot of these are due to general wear and tear. The building's over 20 years old. A lot of these things will be addressed with our CIP project that we have scheduled for 2023. Our city engineer, I don't have a start date for that project yet. I need to get with the project lead, our city engineer. He's done quite a bit of work on it already. We've already had contractors out to our facility to look at the facility and start putting together a plan to renovate and fix some of these issues at the facility. But that is slated for this year, 2023.
So we're taking bids on the necessary repairs and updates.
Yes, the some of these items like the concrete floors needing to be resealed, and that comment, that's referring to the new building. All these items, these maintenance type items will be completed when they do the CIP project. So
But you're taking multiple bids and not just having one contractor come out.
I'm not, that's like our engineer, our city engineer, he's the project lead on it. I'm not really involved on that piece of it.
State law requires the city to get competitive bids. And just for clarification, for those that don't know, CIP stands for Capital Improvement Project. So it's a long-term project for the city.
Right, and this was a project that was slated a couple years ago, and the city slowly, there was a list of, I think, 10 or 11, there was a list of projects, and the city's been working through all these projects, and so it's a large amount of money that we're going to get to really conduct a lot of maintenance and do improvements to the facility. And so some of these items for the board members that's listed in here, they'll be fixed during that project. And some of this stuff will be fixed earlier. And if you look at the items, there, yes, there's stuff that needs to be repaired, but there's nothing on here that's not fixable. And was there anything on any of the inspectors' comments that were noted that you have any questions on? I can address it or talk about it.
These drain covers, that's been an issue for a while.
Yeah, yes, drain covers have. So what they're referring to there is in the new building. We had the ones in the older part of the facility, i.e. our adoption rows, quarantine area, isolation. Those were redone. Now we've got those nice flip covers. What the inspector was referring to is out in the new building. It's those ones that those
The
small
little puppies
ones,
can get down in.
those little ones that go down in there. That we got to try to figure out a solution to that. It's a little bit different design because that building was done at a different day. It was done later at a different date, so the kennels are a little different. But I guess we could put the same covers that are on the adoption rows that are in there. So that's a good point. I think that's
if the ones inside are working and they work efficiently, then put the same
put the
ones
same
out
ones
there.
in there, and those have been really
They only work when people put them down.
right, and those have really worked well. So yes, we can definitely and the company that did it did a really good job. So we can look at having those replaced with what we have in the newer or the adoption area in that part of the facility. It's a good point. Thank you. Any other questions on any of the inspector's notes?
I think that ventilation needs to be moved to priority.
Ventilation.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the ventilation, and you're referring to, the new building, it's...
Old and new.
Yeah.
But we discussed that the other day when I was there about the lack of airflow in both buildings. It's hot in
Right.
Hammond, and she's saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. Oh, I agree 100%. And it goes back to the building design. It's it's an older building design. It's designed it's got fans that pull air out. And Adoption Rose is the same way. It's very humid. But
So is
that's
this-
one of the things.
So does this need to go to the engineer
Yes.
as a priority?
Yeah, and we've talked about it, myself and the city engineer. That was one of the main things when we were discussing how to best spend the resources. As the HVAC is something that definitely needs to be. Well, not just the HVAC, but I don't know in that new building you'd have to enclose that if you're going to put HVAC central. Cooling and heating, you'd have to enclose that entire new building. And I don't know, that's something he's going to have to look at. If it's a cost issue, then at least if we can't provide, central air and heat in there, then look at how we can better improve the ventilation, whether it's just opening up, putting larger fans in there, or making those exhaust fans larger, adding more fans, or coming up with something.
He can put in those what they call big ass fans. That's the name of them. It's what the Expo Center has, and you can put in one or two of them too, and then you can put gas heaters next to it. It's how my barn is designed, and it's fine. The ventilation's fine because the fan can be rotated to go one way or the other to suck the air down or push it down.
Just like a
Is that the actual
household
name
ceiling
of the
fan.
fan?
It's
Oh,
called
yeah.
big ass fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a picture of a donkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just for everyone's benefit, COVID really did us a disservice on this capital improvement money. The funds were, everything that the city does financially is a very slow process because you have to comply with the law in so many different regards, which I know y'all are aware of. But the original bids on the things that we wanted to prioritize as a city, we got those amounts in, and COVID hit. The construction expenses just went through the roof for materials and labor. So we're not going to be able to get everything done, I don't think, that we originally had envisioned. Is that still correct from what you're saying?
Yes. Of course, we want to improve the shelter as best we can. And when we first started talking about some of the renovations we were going to do, we were, not really digging into the cost yet. Of course, I had grand ideas of complete remodel of the front office area and, just redesign, more modern design. But what we're discovering is the money that's allotted for that, it's going to be the maintenance, these big problems that
The ventilation,
the flooring, so which are all extremely important. But it's not going to be a brand new facility. It's just, the money that's allotted is not. It's just not enough to.
But I'm sure you'll be able to come back to us with the overall view of what is going to make it
Right.
and what's going to be
Right.
funded.
And I know that's something that Eddie's been working on, and I need to get with him and see where he's at on a start date for the project, and just the complete cost analysis of these items. But we've been talking. We realize that the ventilation and inside the building where there is central air and cooling, like our cat room, and that needs to be completely redone. So,
Well, and hopefully if there are any core issues that need to be addressed that the funding doesn't cover for whatever reason, I think it probably will, but if it doesn't, then we can always seek some other funding, grants, through local philanthropic organizations or otherwise.
any other Any other questions on the report? All right, if there's no more questions on the state inspection, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 3, which is consider approval of City of Lufkin Animal Shelter Board bylaws. This is an action that I guess we need to vote on as a board. We recognize that we don't, we've been operating for a long time without any bylaws, and we need to come in line with the other city boards and the different departments, and have, you know, a written set of guidelines that we can operate off of. So what's before you is a set of guidelines that we created, our city manager has looked at, our city attorney has looked at, and it's just a basic set of guidelines that gives us some direction when it comes to term limits, when it comes to if somebody, you know, has to leave the board for whatever reason, there's instructions on what the process is to replace those board members. So what we would actually be, because this would need to, my understanding, Gerald, this would be a vote for us to, you know, accept these, and then we would have to, the city council would ultimately have to approve these, correct?
That's what the city attorney advised.
Okay, and so if we as a board are in agreement with the bylaws, our vote would be moving that forward to city council for them to approve it. Our vote is not actually, our vote's not going to approve the bylaws. It's approving to move it forward to be voted on by council. So I make a motion to.
I have a question.
I have a question.
Okay.
3 consecutive terms. I've been here for 7 years.
So yes. What is the question? So
are you gonna mandate that at 7 years? Because Chief and I have been on this board since it was formed, like 7 years ago.
Right. The term limit that we came up with was just what is a basic term limit that many city and government boards go off of. Everything I saw, I didn't see anything with an open-ended.
No, this is pretty common with
Right, and I know
a lot of other boards.
I know
that
it's common,
serve
just the
on.
way that it's worded
But,
there basically says that we're just sitting here until somebody else comes along.
I don't think we're bound by this. I don't think we have to do this.
Right, I just was wondering,
Did you-
because I'm like, well,
Did you have a recommendation?
well,
otherwise?
my concern is just saying until you're replaced or whatever. Well, what if nobody wants to take your position?
Yeah.
And like I said, it says till you're replaced, so then we just don't continue to apply until somebody does take our place. Because I know that there's an application process that we all have to fill out and submit to the city.
I think, and correct me, Gerald, and I don't know if this is probably a question for. I think Kara manages all the city boards as a
the city
whole.
secretary.
But I would have to get with her, and because I'm assuming and again, it's an assumption, there's it would be after the 3-year term, and if we've all met that term, then I think the city secretary sends out a notice, and then I would assume if there's no response from that notice, it's not something that is continually. I don't know if it's pushed out every year. There's a call to ask the public if there's anybody else that wants to serve on the board.
Right.
and then if there's no response, I don't know, I guess it's looked at again in a year. I
I guess that's what I'm saying. Is it looked at again in a year, or do you just
The council does.
Go
They look
with
at
it.
all board appointments at least once a year.
right? And so, like we said, we keep applying for that. But if no one keeps taking it, is there some kind of jargon you want to put in there that well, the council decides yearly, or I don't know if there's a better way of wording that somehow, just because it doesn't. At this point, like I said, all of us are on here.
Yeah, and that was the reason, we discovered that we needed some bylaws for a board like this because a city board is designed, there needs to be an opportunity for, anybody, there is a requirement in the health code that these positions have to be filled by certain people, but as a city organization, we've got to have something that allows other citizens in our community a chance to, serve on the board if they want to serve on the board.
I agree.
Is that a recommendation we go back to Karen, I guess the city attorney, and ask that question?
Yeah, and ask. I mean, it's just I think it's simple verbiage, so that's more clarified.
Okay. How about this? How about I make a motion to,
My question's
Yeah,
different.
go ahead.
So I've been involved with a couple of boards, and you always had an odd number of members. That way you always had, they called it the tiebreaker. So we need a fifth member. That way we have a tiebreaker.
For voting purposes. Okay. I think the best thing to do is, and we can table this. Why don't we do this? Why don't all the board members? Why don't we look through this?
Yeah, I
more?
did. That's why I was
Okay.
questioning what I
mean,
did. But I agree with her too. I mean,
Yeah.
you always have a tiebreaker in some way, shape, or form. But you can word it. It can be another community member, or even somebody as simple as a veterinary technician that like the CVA certified or something like that. That could do it. That means that it could be anybody that works at your. On that end, it could be somebody that works at your facility, or it could be somebody at another veterinary hospital that has some sort of
Okay.
passion about it.
So let's. What I want to do is let's capture. We can revise. We can definitely. I have no problem. We'll table it. We can go back and revise this. But I just want to capture all of the, I guess, things that we need to look at revising all in one shot. That way, when we have it ready to go again, it's you guys had a really good chance to look at it, and we can vote on it. So I'll make a motion to table this, and we will relook it at our next board meeting. Okay. All right. All right. We'll go ahead. Any other questions or concerns on the bylaws? Okay. We'll move to agenda item number 4. For the board members, this is just a simple, overall update, general updates on the facility. I'll point out some main things here. For facility and operations, we're actually going to have a needs assessment or consultant come into the facility. This is something the mayor and city manager, we discussed earlier on in September timeframe, I believe. The city's identified a consultant that very experienced. We went through a process. We reached out to a bunch of different organizations, and this person's going to come February 20 or February, don't have the exact date yet, and do a complete assessment of our overall operation, and just look at how we can improve, what we can do better as a animal shelter and modern animal services operation. So that's a big project that's happening this year. We've got the CIP project. We're still moving forward with that, and then planning to kick that off this year. Just don't have a start date yet on that. Some of the smaller things, there's just a few maintenance items on there. You see that we've recently addressed. We had to replace a hot water heater. We got a new dish machine for our water bowls and food bowls. We did move to a vaccination on intake policy that was voted on by City Council, which I'm excited to see. That I think that's going to help a lot with the zoonotic diseases that we deal with regularly at the shelter. Staff, nothing really significant to report. We took part in a Burke Center work program where we had an individual. He actually graduated the program today. He worked with us for the last. You guys have one too as well, Dr. Seiler.
Yep.
He was great. Came in and was able to help us with a lot of things that we didn't really have. We struggle with time to complete just janitorial type work, mopping, and helping keep the front office clean. So that was pretty neat to be able to have him come in and work
Joel
with
has
us.
the opportunity to hire those people on part-time basis, because we did.
Yes, if we had a position open,
I think it would be intelligent to do that. I mean, such a great help to have a person that's part-time to do such small tasks. I think that would be something that you could go to the city council with, because you're not only helping a human, but you're helping your animals too, and those people need that. It's
Yeah.
a part-time position. My girl couldn't work. I know yours couldn't either. Probably over 4 hours a day.
Right. Yeah, that's something that I could take to the city manager, and I know we weren't the only department that had. I think within the city, I want to say there was 5
believe
spread
that's
out
right.
There were a
throughout.
bunch at the little graduation. Did y'all go to your graduation today?
Yeah.
Stormy said there was a few people.
That's something definitely we could bring forward to the management, and we're gonna miss him for sure. The individual did a great job, and we're gonna miss him not having him there. And he was.
It's a really great effort by Burke to
Yeah.
give people that may not have had an opportunity to be exposed to a work environment, that opportunity.
We loved our girl.
Hopefully it'll make a big difference in their lives.
Yeah. We're hoping she can come back. Her issue right now is transportation, but we hope to keep her on because the Burke Center was providing the transportation for her. So, but we hope to be able to do it. So I think it would be a nice thing to have them on part-time, because that's kind of what you need, is somebody just to do simple tasks,
Right.
simple cleaning tasks.
Great point. All right. I'll just cover the last couple things here. You see a list of shelter events that we recently completed. We had the THLN, Texas Humane Legislation Network, came in and hosted some animal cruelty training at our Civic Center back on October 7th, which was very informative. We had some law enforcement attend, some just folks in the community attend, so we were glad to have them come out. Our big thing we have going on right now through until the new year is we do this every year. It's the Home for the Holidays, our adoption special, where we reduce our adoption fees to half for $30. We're doing it for $30, and just efforts to try to help put animals in a good home. Then the upcoming things we have scheduled right now, 27 December, Chick-fil-A reached out to us and they chose us. They do a thing called Spirit Night, where during a 2-hour block on that day, December 27th, they donate a percentage of their proceeds back to the shelter. And I've actually been in contact with a CASA, which is a 501c3 animal organization here in Lufkin that has helped the shelter tremendously over the years. And my recommendation to the Chick-fil-A and the folks that are putting on this program is to have the funds, those proceeds donated back to their charity. Because that their funds, I mean, it's gonna come back to us anyway through their help and through what the organization does to help the shelter. So, I've been in talks with the organization, and we just need to finalize it. But they're a nonprofit. They do great work for the shelter and what we do. And to me, it only made sense to have that money donated back to them. So
Good.
And then the Girl Scouts, they've been in contact with us. They're putting on a donation drive for the shelter, and they're going to collect items that we always are in need of, and we're going to host. They're going to do a donation drive, and then we're going to host they're going to come to the shelter, and we're going to give them an overview of the shelter and talk about what our role in the community is and so forth. So, any questions on some of the general happenings at the shelter?
For our event purposes, how are we doing on the ARC?
On the Animal Ark, we have the Animal Ark is at our fleet maintenance department right now. They are putting together a cost estimate there are really two estimates. The first estimate is to completely renovate it, i.e. Let me back up a little bit. So the Ark is about 15 to 20 years old. That's it's an old piece of equipment. So we're trying to figure out, it's because it's got a built-in HVAC system. It's got a generator. They're doing a cost estimate to see if we can repair all that, or is it more cost effective
To replace it.
probably just replace it. And the other estimate they're putting it together is, well, okay, can we get it road safe right now to at least, this time of year, the HVAC is not really, it's not really crucial because we don't have the hot weather. So, there could be some usage out of it from now until the weather starts to get really hot. And then, what do we have to do to get that road safe? Tires, making sure, does it need new tires, making sure the blinkers work, all the lights work on it. And then, the short term, if we want to get that thing up and running and used, can we fix some of these minor things and what the cost is on that? And then as far as the long term, we probably this is what it's going to cost to make this thing really nice with new graphics, all, new generator, new HVAC, or is it cheaper just to, purchase a new one? It's, so like I said, that thing's about 20 years old, and I don't know what the typical lifespan of a piece of equipment like that is, but the inside, it's still, the kennels themselves and the structure is great. It's just it's some of these mechanical things that got to operate on it for us to be able to use, especially in the hot months. So.
The consultant that's going to review the shelter, can you give us a little more information on how that person was selected and
Sure.
what their experience has been? That I believe there's some common experience there.
Yes. So when we started doing our search to find the best person or organization or group to come in and look at our operation, we started reaching out to a lot of different shelters. We first put in contact with the consultant through the shelter in Weatherford. I reached out to the gentleman, and his name slipped in my mind right now, but they went through kind of the same thing we did. Their program needed to be Dustin, thank you. Their program needed to be updated, and they they were doing a search for consultants, and this particular person did their consulting work, and they were extremely pleased. So we got the initial, review from their municipal shelter and their government, and then we looked at some other, places that she had consulted, and she came with a highly recommended from a lot of different cities, not only in Texas but other areas as well. So she thoroughly vetted, researched, and her just the experience. She managed, I want to say Atlanta, Georgia. It was one of the largest municipal shelters in the country. And I want to say Atlanta, Georgia, but I know it was in Georgia, but I could be wrong on what city. But I want to say it was Atlanta. But just highly recommended by, with letters of recommendation from chiefs of police, city managers, and other organizations. So and they were extremely pleased with the result and what she provided as far as a plan for some changes and to make things better, improvements. So we're excited.
Did you get to go on that trip with them to Weatherford?
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, a lot of our animal advocates were impressed with the result in Weatherford.
Yes,
So
yes, it's very nice and efficiently
good.
run. They have a lot of good ideas.
Good.
All right. Any more questions on events or just general shelter operations?
Have we considered getting a commercial washing machine and dryer?
Yeah. Well, yes. We have several times over the years, and it's every year I'm realizing that that's probably the route we need to go because we're eating through regular washers and dryers, and it's I know those things. To get, my understanding is to get a pretty decent one, you're probably looking at probably $5,000, $6,000 to get a medium gray. I think they go up as much as probably 10 or more. I don't have a lot of familiarity with them, but I think in the long run, if we go ahead and probably purchase a good one like that, it's going to save us some money
Tyler
because
has a good setup, and they have a automatic soap disinfectant system, and he said that cut down a lot of the waste and making sure the right amount of disinfectant gets in there.
and that's that's laundry, right?
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, yes, I think that's the route that we should be looking at. But we eat up regular machines, and I think in the long run, if we probably go ahead and make an investment in a good piece of equipment like that, I think it'll save us money in the long run. And that's something that we'll bring up at mid-year.
Budget preparation will begin in March normally,
Okay.
and
They're like $4,500.
yeah,
The ones I looked at are $4,500.
Okay.
Because I needed 4 sets of them, or 4 sets. Stuff.
Aaron, can I interject something on that?
Yes.
I know we're not general comments right now, but I kind of have connections to Speakman Commercial.
Okay.
So
Great.
if you can get me specifics of what you need,
Okay.
I can.
Sean and Tyler's going to be a good resource to find out what he has.
Yeah, it's definitely
Because they're
would help
big.
us tremendously with
Those machines are big.
And depending on your space, you can stack them too. Just like they are in a laundromat. They can be stacked, depending on your space. If you wanted to get 2. Because that's
yeah,
how
we
we're
would
putting ours down.
need because we're using 2 regular washers and 2 regular dryers. So just the amount of the amount of laundry we have to do, we definitely want to go to. Great point.
The dryer goes up top and then the washer down bottom, obviously. It's nice looking.
All right, great comment, great point, and definitely something we would benefit the shelter tremendously. All right, I've got one more item on the agenda, and that's just from the board members. Are there any announcements or requests for anything else that you want to see on the next agenda? Anything in particular that you guys want to put on there for next meeting?
Just bylaws that we tabled.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, guests. Yes.
I had a question. You said there was a 25% decrease in the total intake, but you never gave the intake number.
I'm sorry.
What was the number?
I can get that. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 2 numbers. So 2021, which was last year, was 4,621, and then for 2022 is 3,475, and that's from January 1st through 2 days ago, December 12th. So that's year to date when I ran the reports.
Just like to have that, because when I talk to people, to make them understand the importance of it.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, I'll go ahead. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for board members for your input and for your attendance, and as well as our guests. Thank you very much. This will conclude our meeting for this evening. Thank you.